From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode, and I might not be the only one who's awake this time. Who knows? We'll see. My name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
It's me, Vicki.
Hey, me. Are you a zombie, Vicki, or are you Vicki?
I'm so much better today.
Okay,
really
very well. Very well. It's been long 3 weeks since you left the building and never come home. Okay. Yeah. We have a guest for this episode. He is a Lemons judge. That's where we first knew him. Then we've seen him racing around on the track. His team name, TBD. They seem to have a per car team name, so we got to talk about that at one point. One car would be Oscar's Jump Heap. One car would be Elmo's Revenge, which endlessly gets Vicki to laugh. The Dazzle ship we're not that familiar with, but then there's those cookie stealing bastards and the Rookie Monster, which we're going to talk about just a little bit. We have Chris Haase. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Well, thank you very much. Hey, Bill. Hey, Vicki. Nice you to invite me on this podcast. And thank you all for having such a great sense of humor about our theft of cookies.
It's okay.
You never know how that's going to go.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yes. So before we get into exactly why you stole our baked good, care to give a little bit of background beyond what I did, personal life, family life, racing life, whatever you like.
Sure. So yeah, my name is Chris Haase. I've been Lemons racing. The first race was actually back in 2009. I saw an article, I think it was Car and Driver, where they were talking about the series. And I'm like, well, sounds interesting. At the time, I had been doing a lot of drag racing. Drag racing was just getting tedious because the nearest track for me was Englishtown near Sayreville, New Jersey.
You're up there. I understand.
Yeah. So then, the fun of living on Long Island and trying to get to Jersey, or more importantly, getting back home from New Jersey.
Well, getting anywhere from Long Island is not the most fun.
Right. So it became a tedious thing. And I saw this article and I emailed it up to my friend Manny, who many of you know, who also does some judging and kind of captains the ship with me. I sent him a link with hey, this looks like fun. And I got back a response as, we have to do this, which of course my response is, no, why do you think I emailed it to you?
Pretty much, yeah.
So that was back in 2008. We started looking for cars. At the time, Manny was working at a Saturn dealership. So he's a, ASE certified master mechanic, 30 plus years, and he owns his own shop now. So we figure, okay, if he's a Saturn mechanic, let's find a Saturn. So, Saturns are pretty much a dime a dozen at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So we, I search around a little bit by me, and eventually we find some kid up in, I don't know, like near Poughkeepsie or whatever, selling it for like $200. No title, whatever. Pretty sure he's needed it for meth. But so that's where we got our very first car. Was named Elmo's Revenge, which is generally why we go with Elmo's Revenge. That was a Saturn SL2. So we kind of put that car together, and our first race was a total disaster.
Oh,
I mean,
in a Saturn SL2, I can't imagine.
Yeah. Well, no. It was. We failed tech before we got to tech.
Nice.
So wait a minute. Elmo's Revenge, is that the ice cream one?
No, yes, that's the wagon. So
Okay.
Yeah, the car was rebodied after 6 or 7 seasons.
Okay.
So yeah, we failed tech before we even got to tech. Which was
awesome.
yeah, we're literally in the car driving it over to tech. And this is back right in the early days. Jay was there at every race doing all the work. We're driving past Jay and he's like, stop. What? No, that's way too loud.
No.
Where they actually enforce the dB limits on the
Right.
cars.
Oh,
Yeah.
which track?
Step back at Stafford.
Oh, we never got to do that one.
Oh,
So I just well, I want to revisit that one later. Okay.
okay.
She has no patience, just in case you were curious.
It's okay. It's an ADD thing. I got to write it down. Go
You
ahead.
do.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So we fail tech. So we immediately. So we're like, all right. So we run to AutoZone and grab, the biggest, cheapest bullet muffler we can find. Cut out some of the tubing going back and kind of graft this thing in there. So crisis one averted. We get to tech. Phil gives us a little bit of grief because sadly, Saturns at Stafford are actually fantastic cars. Your lap times are only about 32 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was a half-mile oval track where once you got to the end of one of the straights, it cut you back into the infield where you made a few turns and then got back on the back bank to loop around again.
How much infield is there in a half-mile oval? There's not much there.
No, not a lot. So we finally get the car out there, and probably not 5 minutes after the parade lap, the engine grenades. Just completely destroys itself.
But you didn't have to worry about your decibels. You were fine.
That's right. So we get the car up. I think at that point in time, that's about 2.5 hours from Manuel's job. So we load the car up on the trailer, drive the car back over to Manuel's job, the Saturn dealership, borrow an engine, rip the old one out, put the new one in.
I think it's called take it for a test drive.
Right.
Yes.
So yes, doing this all night, and then we drive the car back first thing in the morning, get it to tech, because we have literally no idea what we're doing. So like, do we have to retech the car? What do we do? So we kind of drive the car back out, pull up the Phil, and Phil looks at us and goes, "Yeah, guys, I hate to tell you." We go, "What?" He goes, "Oh, you were voted the curse."
What?
So back in the days, there was a curse, a people's curse, where they would destroy your car. A car was destroyed every single race.
Oh.
Yeah, they stopped doing this.
Yeah. So now, of course, Phil was actually pulling our leg because we literally hadn't been on the track long enough to actually cause grief for anybody.
True. You know this curse tradition, Miss Vicki?
No, I do not.
All right, Chris, you want to take the lead?
Sure.
I've heard, but not participated.
So yeah, so much in the early days, there was what they call the people's curse. And it was basically, there was a poll done where you could kind of drop off the name of a car who was driving like an ass. Usually it was reserved for the cars that were driving like asshats, after day one. So if a significant number of votes came in for a car, it was destroyed. Yes, you got like a half an hour to pull out your belts and stuff.
Oh no!
So yeah,
And by destroyed, you mean via?
So there was various ways it was done. That the one race that I particularly remember was at Stafford, where the announcement was made. Every team grab one team representative and their favorite tool and head over to the paddock area where we were doing our fueling. There was no hot pits at Stafford, so they had this one area roped off for you to go, and it was all dirt, and so you filled your car. So they took the car and they drove it over to this area. And at this point now, you remember all the scenes from like Dracula where you got the angry mob with pitchforks?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, so pretty much imagine that, but with things like we call our tank bar, pickaxes, saws of various form. And they pretty much just said, go to town on this car for like a half an hour.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, there's a reason they don't do this anymore.
That's terrifying.
Yeah,
That's absolutely terrifying.
That was so sketchy. It's unbelievable. So that was done once. I think they took one car, used not necessarily a backhoe, but something similar, lifted it all the way up as high as it could get and just dropped it. So there's been various forms of destruction. My favorite by far was the one race. I think it was only one race done at Summit in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with that race.
I'm familiar with Summit. I never went there.
Now this is Lemons.
Oh yeah, this is Lemons.
In what year? Like early.
This is probably 2010.
My God. So how was this received?
Oh, everybody loved it.
Really?
Except for one car.
Except for
the one car. Oddly enough, interestingly enough, that car almost made it back on the track.
Wow.
So I'm
just seeing dollar signs. I'm seeing dollar signs.
Well, cars weren't the cars weren't like they are now.
Yeah, no. They were garbage. I think we put together our entire first car for $2,500.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The best destruction by far was at Summit Point. There was no real good curse car, but there was one team that had a car they really didn't like. So one thing interesting about Summit Point is that there's two tracks, but it's also a police training range.
Mm-hmm.
So after the end of day one, or before day two starts, they lead us over to this area, which is in between the two tracks. Okay. And then you see like this roped off area, and they say, everybody stand behind the ropes. And you look and you see the curse car off into the distance. Like, all right, what's going on here? Then you look to the left and there's a pickup truck. In the bed of the pickup truck is a mounted 50 cal.
That's like the size we used to have at Langside. Vic.
Oh, okay.
So there is a 50 cal machine gun mounted on the back of this truck.
Oh my God.
There is a tall blondish woman wearing angel wings standing behind said gun, aimed at the car.
Just admit it. It was Jeff.
Could have been Jeff.
Wakeman.
Yeah. At that point, the signal was given, and this woman just starts unloading rounds into this car. I think it was like a Ford LTD type car, so and then you see her
do that nowadays?
Oh, back then.
Oh no, back then we did crazy stuff. Eventually you see her start moving towards the back of the car.
Oh my
So
God.
it gets, closer and closer. And then once it gets to the trunk, all you hear is boom, 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 boom.
No way.
They loaded C4 into the trunk.
Nice.
C4 and literally blew up this car, which is why the ropes were where they were. Because we had to be out of the blast radius.
Oh my gosh. Like, did people come? Like, did the cops come?
The cops were there.
It was a police
the
range.
Police. Okay.
This was a police training range for bomb disposal, driving, practice.
Oh God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And terrible and awesome at the same time.
Yeah. So by far one of the best destructions of vehicle ever.
My God, that's awesome.
So this is starting to explain the cookie caper. We'll get there soon.
Right.
Okay.
So that's when we started. So yeah, so that was the People's Curse. So long way back. So we were voted the curse. Of course, Phil was joking, right? He really was kidding, just teasing us. So he's like, no, you can go back out. Just go. We go back out, and I think I went in next. We're like, okay, everybody's going for like 10 minutes, right? Just 10 minutes. I go run out for like 10 minutes. I'm like, all right, grab the next driver in. Next driver goes in. Then you hear a little knocking in the engine.
Uh-oh.
All right. Next driver goes in. Knocking's getting worse. So we finally make it up to this guy, Scott, who's not on the team anymore, but he just went on his own way after a few years. We tell him, all right, Scott, just send it, right? Just run it until the thing, it's dead. Of course, they hate when we do this, but so he goes out, and there's pictures and video of he's coming around the straight. So the infield ended at the back corner of the oval. So you went around the back corner and you start coming back down the main straight. Just as he hits the main straight, there was like a James Bond smoke cloud. behind the
no.
car. Just exploded. We're laughing our asses off. At this point, we're cheering. Phil's laughing at us because like, what are you lunatics doing? So that car was on the track. There were 2 engines, basically probably about an hour and 5 minutes total.
God.
It's not a good return on time, but it sounded like it was fun.
Oh, it was. I mean, we actually made like the local newspaper.
Did you? Oh God.
Yeah. They were just taking pictures of this car exploded, and there's pictures of us jumping up and down in this gaggle of people just laughing our asses off. So
That's awesome.
That is. So how'd you pick the other cars? I mean, Saturn on Saturn violence. I understand that one.
Right. So yeah. So the first Saturn was our. That was because we had that. After a bunch of years, the body was rotting. So how's that one? So at some point in time, we decided that, we just wanted something else. We wanted to go IOE route.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a hold of a BMW E9.
Mm-hmm.
So, a 2800 it was the predecessor to the Bavaria. So we basically threw that thing together and took it for the one and only race at Monticello.
Mm-hmm.
We took the Saturn and the Bavaria.
Mm-hmm.
We had it dressed up. The Bavaria was dressed up like a wagon,
Mm-hmm.
and we had an elm on it, and it had like the handle, so it made it look like you were pulling a radio flyer wagon.
Right. Oh.
Right. We took that, and if in typical, E9, E3 fashion, it lasted all of about 2 hours before it overheated and warped the head. However, the Saturn, the SL2, actually won Class B that race.
Wow.
We beat out. I think it was Sorry for Parties Camaro. It was definitely a V8 Camaro. I don't know if it was them or another team.
Mm-hmm.
So
we'll blame them.
Yeah, we'll blame them. They're nice guys. We'll blame them. So that's how we got that car. That car basically sucked. It was slow. We couldn't really find another head for it. So we decided, well, what would any sane person do? We called a friend of ours who has a body shop, and apparently somebody just didn't want to deal with or totaled an 89 635.
Okay.
So we literally ripped out engine, transmission, and suspension of a 635 and put it in the E9.
These are the things you can do when you have mechanical talent. We need to learn some of that.
So what was interesting part is I think it took 5 of us to pull the rear end out of the E9,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 people to put the one from the 635 in it.
So choosing your cars, are these cars that pretty much just fall in your lap and just like, or I have an idea? Is that your more interest?
Yeah, it's mostly they fall in our lap. I mean, so the Saturn was a definite choice. The BMW, kind of somebody saw it on the side of the road and was like, that could be fun. After the BMW, so the BMW, we did that. We take it up to New Hampshire. Phil looks at it and goes, yeah, you're an A now.
Was it A-worthy though?
It actually, we had problems get it running, but it was actually stupidly fast. The car actually still is out racing today.
Really? Who has it now?
It was actually at the NCM race.
Really?
There's a red BMW. If it was actually in the wrap-up video, that was the car. We tried it for a race. It ran good. Well, it ran poorly. Finally figured out it was a computer issue. They were still having problems still getting it to run remotely right. Just gave up on it. It's like, this is not worth the hassle. So we sold it to a local team. They raced it once, and then I think they sold it. So yeah, if you look at the last NCM wrap-up video,
oh gosh,
it's actually the car. You can actually see it. It still says Radio Flyer.
Okay.
Panel. That was our car.
Okay.
So after that car, we were kind of running our Saturns for a bit, and somebody said, man was like, all right, we really need to run to win an IOE.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, all right, what do we got? Or what can we get? So a buddy of ours, Alex, who lives up near Manuel, he actually loves old Rovers.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up buying a 69 Rover P6 3500 parts car. So because he has one, it's actually restored. It's nice. He needed a bunch of interior. He needed a windshield and a bunch of other things out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Once he was done with it, what was in there was literally no windshield, but it had the engine and drivetrain in the rear end. So like he goes, well, you can have it if you want. So we took a 69 Rover P6 3500, 3.5 liter all aluminum Buick V8, 3-speed automatic, caged it, put a Lexan windshield in it, decorated it in Super Grover glory because it's a Rover, therefore it's Grover.
It's a Grover Rover.
Right. We actually had a giant Super Grover made. Well, Manuel made it.
Wait a minute. You guys had the Super Grover?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When I was driving around in one of my first events, that car is the one I still talk about, because when you were racing, that thing would hover above the car. And I would laugh every time I was coming around NJMP when I saw this Super Grover flying above the car.
So that was us. Yes. So we kind of turned that in, got it running. We took it to Jersey. And, it was pretty terrible the whole time. We apparently did not do a very good job of cleaning out the fuel tank. So it kept clogging with rust.
Oh, no.
Like we bought, I think, every fuel filter of reasonable size within like a 20-mile radius.
Wow.
And then I had the decision, and I probably broke about a half a dozen EPA laws.
Right.
I ripped the tank out of the back of the car, because it actually sat below the parcel shelf on a Rover.
Right.
So I grabbed it, took it to a local drive-in car wash, where those self-serve car washes, in the back of my brand new Mercedes SUV, and proceeded to basically water blast the entire interior of the gas tank out.
And how did that go?
We used only one fuel filter the entire second day.
Oh, wow.
So it actually worked. So
I'm not thinking that was the way to go.
No,
yeah.
I do have to say, so far as you're telling me the stories, you do excel at crappy cars.
Well, we're really good at crappy cars. Yeah. so the car was out there. I think it came in like 100th place. I mean, out of, the typical New Jersey, 140, 150 cars.
Yep.
So that, of course, wins the distinction for IOE because, I mean, who the hell, 40 cars lost to a Rover. So therefore we win. And the car was terrible, by the way. It was an automatic, manual steering, manual brakes.
Right. So, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Manual steering.
Awful.
Oh my God.
It was terrible to drive. It hurt. Like an hour in that car was like a full, 45-minute high intensity workout. Just you're dead.
Oh God.
So it got IOE. We're like, what are we gonna do with this car now? We're like, well, screw it. Let's drive it. Let's see how far we can get. We won Class C in that car. We won it at Thompson.
Right.
We were, I think, the third slowest car in the field.
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
So then after we won Class C with that, it was actually bought at Jersey by the Triumph guys. Right. So the TR7 actually runs the same engine.
Okay.
So after they blew up.
When you think that the Rover is an upgrade to the car you're driving, you've got to seriously question your life choices.
Yeah. Well, they wanted the engine.
Yeah. Well, Bill actually came to me and was like, they sold Super Grover. And I'm like, what? I'm not going to see. I was sad.
She was devastated.
Yeah, we have a picture of some of the guys with a skid loader, like a forklift, loading it up onto the back of the car to take it out to the wrecker.
Oh gosh. Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, it was.
Wreckers are so sad.
Yes.
So I just curious. Now we have adopted the superhero theme. You've obviously adopted the Sesame Street theme. Now, who is behind the Sesame Street theme?
I think that was mainly Manuel. So right back in the early days, the races did get full, so you really had to kind of make yourself stand out.
Mm-hmm.
So we, put, Elmo's Revenge, and we had on the team sign up the full bio of, Chris Super Grover Haase,
Mhm.
and they had, Sesame Street. So we basically had the full write-up done in Sesame Street. And then we had an Elmo who actually, it was one of those posable Elmos that talked, and it had a
Right.
different saying where you were sitting.
Mhm.
So we actually had an Elmo.
Right.
We strapped a big rifle in his hand,
Oh,
and we
geez.
sat him on the back of the car.
Mhm.
And if you sat him with his feet out and got him to move, he would go, room, room. Elmo is a race car driver. There was also, we had battery powered bubble makers on the back of the car, the first car.
Okay.
There's pictures out there from, I think it was Summit. We're in line for tech, and we had two battery powered bubble makers are going, and there's just a giant stream of bubbles coming out of the back of this car.
Oh, geez.
I mean, a lot of them. It's like kids are stopping by, playing with the bubbles. That moment, Jay walks by. And he looks at it, and we're like, yeah, don't worry, we'll turn it off, when we're on the track. He goes, why? Everybody should have bubble makers on their car.
Uh-huh.
So we actually would leave the bubble makers running while you're out on the track.
Right.
You couldn't see them, except for every once in a while. You just see this bubble coming off the back of the car.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah.
So anyway, now we know how you choose your cars. Have we gotten into? Okay, so far we've gone through the discussion. What theme character are we up to now?
So that was Super Grover.
Right.
So after we retired Super Grover, one of our other friends, who's actually a very serious racer, he's actually a Formula Atlantic driver. He owns 2 Formula Atlantic cars.
Right.
He wanted to get into it with us, but he didn't want to deal with front wheel drive. So we're like, all right, what can we do?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a little older than we are. So he was going, it'd be really cool if we could get like something that was from the Trans Am era. Okay. So
what could go wrong?
Yeah, I know. So we're and Manuel is like the mayor of Beacon, right? He knows everybody. He grew up there. He knows everybody. So a guy he knew had just, the typical 74 Javelin just sitting out in the field.
Freaking Javelin.
So we paid like $900 for this Javelin.
Right.
Well, technically, yeah, over the $500 limit. Yeah, no, a Javelin is punishment enough.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, the first 3 letters of the company name is punishment enough.
I do remember that car.
Yeah.
I do remember you with that freaking car.
Right. So it was green, rusty, just hideous.
So, and perfect.
I mean, really, do we have to say anything else? So, of course, now you've got Oscar's Junk Heap.
Right.
Yep.
Debuted in Pittsburgh a few years ago. That one, organizer's choice at Pittsburgh, because holy cow, a 65 Fairlane ran all weekend. All weekend, where our car, of course, was a disaster on wheels because it was a 674 Javelin with an AMC 360.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that they went out and played the lottery, because getting that thing to run the entire weekend was, a gift from God. And
it is the perfect Oscar car.
Right.
Everything about it.
So, yeah. So we the impetus for getting that car was this guy, Andy, and he wanted to do it. So we're like, all right. So we built that car.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're running that, and it's our kind of our Class C torture chamber right now, which never seems to run very well. Well, when it's running, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I got sent out, I think, in Jersey one year. There was no gas left in the car. They're like, yeah, you've only got an hour and a half. Just go out there and baby it. So I'm tooling around. It was when we did Lightning 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just tooling around Lightning, just watching all these cars go by me. And some BMW decided to irritate me for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what BMW, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just not dealing with this. So I just put my right foot down.
Was it?
And I just went screaming by this BMW. I mean, just dual exhaust just goes like he was standing still.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's a 5.9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's got 354 gears in it and a 4-speed. So
Getting
literally
it stopped is a different story, but going's not the problem.
Stops reasonably well.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, what we ended up doing was, since it shares some fair amount of parts with Ford, we adapted Cobra Willwoods for the front. And then there's a company that makes rear disc conversions for that axle, because that axle is the AMC 20, which is pretty much used in every Jeep forever.
Mm-hmm.
So it uses like the GM, I think the G body, the full size cars from like the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Give you a bracket that you weld to the rear end, and you can mount up a set of those calipers on the back. So still manual brakes, but if you've got a little muscle in your leg, it stops pretty well. But we're looking at going to do getting it a little bit further. The Stockmaster died, so we took a late 70s, early 70s Corvette master cylinder and made that work. So that helped, actually gave us a bit more braking force, but it's still a bit of a workout. So we're going to try to figure out how we can put power brakes in there.
Right.
So that's how we got Oscar.
Uh-huh.
And then there was the other Saturn. I said, I told you, I think we bought that from another team that just ran it once, blew up the clutch, decided Saturns were too slow, and they sold it to us for like $1,000. And we won Class C in that car.
Right. Excellent.
So I think that covers all the cars we've had.
Did we do the Dazzle? Did we do the Dazzle ship?
So that was that other Saturn, the Dazzle ship.
Oh, okay.
So the Dazzle ship came right about the same time as the Javelin. And as I said, some team ran it at Jersey, Thunderbolt. It's like, this car's slow. We want something faster, that whole thing from their team. And we're like, all right, I'm kind of interested for maybe a parts car or something, because like it's an SL1.
Right.
So we offered them some stupidly low amount of money. And they're kind of like, well, maybe we'll do that if we don't give you like the seat and stuff like that. Okay, whatever. Okay. Fair. So they were thinking about it, and apparently somebody else on the team went out and bought a Supra. They're like, well, now we have to get rid of this car. So they sold us the car for $1,000, including the $800 Sparco seat.
Wow.
2 sets of 15-inch rims, a little wider than stock, which was actually nice. So we grabbed that car, kind of ran it once. We're like, well, we didn't really run it once. We fixed the clutch. Then we're like, well, this is a Saturn. I can see why they don't like it, because they left everything in it. So it had the full dash. I mean, it was the typical do as little as possible to get the car to pass tech. So we then took that car, stripped everything out of it, cut the springs so it was lower, did the rear disc conversion. And this is all just parts we had lying around because we've collected Saturn parts over the years. Threw that whole car back together, drove that for a race. Was like, right, this isn't too bad. They're like, but the problem is, it's a Saturn. So Saturns on the stock tank, you can only go maybe an hour and 45 minutes.
Right.
So we decided, well, let's put a fuel cell in it. We had a fuel cell sitting around, actually compliments of the Scooby-Doobies.
Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
Yeah. They were, I guess, retiring the fuel cell that they had in their car. It was an FIA cell. We've been friends with them for years. We love them. They're great people. Probably one of the nicest drivers you see out there. They always race clean. They race fast. They're like, hey, Manny, you need a fuel cell? We're like, yeah, why? He goes, we're going to upgrade. We don't really want this one. And we're like, yeah, sure. How much? They're like, no, just take it. I'm like, all right. So we took the plasma cutter, cut a big ass hole in the trunk, created a frame, and dropped a 22-gallon fuel cell in the trunk of the Saturn, sealed off the back so we didn't have to worry about it being FIA, even though it was. And now you can go about 4 hours on a tank of gas.
Wow.
Do you want to be in a Saturn for 4 hours?
we have drivers that actually will do that. That's how you win in a Saturn. I mean,
For sure.
When it won C at New Hampshire, they did a one-stop day on day 2.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
One stop. That's it. Filled it, ran it until about halfway through the day, topped it up, filled it back up, didn't even use all of it, and sent the last driver out. We were only in 3rd in Class C, and at about halfway through day 2, one car ahead of us broke. The car in first broke, and then another car broke. But they broke after we caught them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the car behind us was actually slower than us somehow. So we actually, with like 2 hours left, is when we actually took the C lead and won Class C at that race. And oddly enough, the wagon actually took 2nd in B at that same race.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
We were 15th overall, and we lost to the Fiero.
Yeah. I remember that race.
Yeah, so crazy weekend for us. So
Wow.
that's how we ended up with the Dazzle ship. A lot of bribery to get it in C because I really don't like putting Saturns in C. So we did a little bribery. We didn't really have our fast drivers in that car.
Mm-hmm.
So, it works. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we acquired that Saturn. We literally bought it from a team that gave up on it.
And then there's this cookie stealing bastage of a car.
Yep.
Bastage,
car,
I tell you.
That bastage actually has a backstory.
Okay.
So that car was another car that was given to us.
Mm-hmm.
That car was owned by a guy on our team, Josh. Josh actually raced it for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And he was basically running a team by himself. Struggled, right? Can't find good people, always having problems, can't get help. He said, you know what? I'm done running a team.
Mm-hmm.
Done. So he just said, I'm racing with you guys, so you can just have the car. He got the car from Dave Morrow.
Mm-hmm.
That Saturn was the Saturn with the GTO nose grafted on the front.
Ah.
So it was painted orange. It had the hood scoops.
Mm-hmm.
They actually used a GTO nose. So we got it, put it aside for a while. Like, what are we going to do with this thing? Like, we really don't need 4 race cars.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What does need have to do with race cars, though?
Well, that's true. And then, so what ended up happening was Manuel's son, he's about 2021. He's like, I want to try this one time. Try some racing. We're like, all right. One of our other friends' son, who's 19, was like, oh, I want to do this too. So like, all right. So instead of using, one of the other 3 cars that we already have built, we're like, well, that just needs an engine and a fire suppression system. So why don't we just do that? I'm like, all right, whatever. So of course, it's never just an engine and a fire suppression system.
Right.
I was going to say. Yeah.
Right. So basically, we rebuilt the whole freaking car, basically ripped all the wiring out of it, rewired the whole car, went into transmission, made sure the diff pin was welded. I mean, just tore apart the whole car. Spent pretty much all of my spring and summer up there working on this car.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that one came about. And we're like, well, we need a theme. So then we grabbed, we figured, all right, we'll do a rookie car. So it'll be Rookie and Monster. We needed some more drivers. So are you guys familiar with the Brickmobile?
No.
Not by name.
The Mustang that had the giant dirt car wing on the roof.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't remember that.
Not
one.
placing it.
But go ahead.
It's a white Mustang, had done up like basically a brick wall. After they won, they finally took the giant wing off. It's Rob and Randy. You guys, know Rob and Randy?
Yeah.
It was their car.
Okay.
So their daughter was interested, Rob's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have Rob's daughter. And then I found some, random kid posting on Facebook going, I want to do this, who happened to live in Northern Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
We met them, parents came up. So, all right, now we got a team. Okay, it's all rookies.
Right.
Literally, 2 of them never driven stick shift before. So that's how the rookie monster came about. So we're like the rookie monster. So that's how we acquired the rookie monster.
So you found 4 people with questionable morals. I see what's going on. I see how this is going down.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very well. All right. Well,
so now you have the full history of all of our questionable decisions and cars that we've driven.
Well, I mean, you're Lemons guys, so questionable decisions is what this whole series is based on. So.
Yeah, I mean, we're not known to be the smartest people in the world. We're a lot of fun, very helpful, not so smart.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what about your current sideline profession of being a judge, sir?
Captain's log supplemental.
Miss Vicki.
Yes, sir.
You know what?
What?
I've been thinking about this Sentinel system.
Yeah. Tell me about the Sentinel system.
So what I was thinking was we have the one car that's got the aim dash that's slowing us down. Because installing the aim dash is actually, it probably is easy, but it's quite hard the first time. And we haven't figured that out yet. The Sentinel system is really easy to set up. So what I was thinking was, why don't we put it in the Lemons car? And we'll worry about the aim data information separately. And we'll kind of break it down into a project. Because then we'd have the motorsports video system that we really, really want, and we'd be able to stream it. We just won't have the data inside, but we have the data outside, so we can combine them later. But I think that's a really good solution.
So what does this Sentinel system do?
Well, if it had the aim data, it would have all the data on the screen, and you could see all their telemetry and everything live. But we'd be able to not only record it for viewing after the race, but we could actually watch our car during the race.
Ooh, like on the monitor and everything?
On a monitor, if you were at home and I was at a track, or if you were at the track and I was at home, depends on who gets the short straw, but we'd be able to watch each other.
It's something I've always wanted to do.
And you know what? If you're driving, you know what you can do on the Sentinel system?
What's that?
You can communicate to me with your hands, and I can't do a thing about it.
Even better.
So, if you need to give a wave or a Jersey wave, whatever you need, we could save it and see it on the screen. And then you can have up to 3 different cameras, and it'll have picture in picture. You'll have the basic main shot out the front window, and then 2 cameras where you put them wherever you want. One could be on the driver, or one could be on the rear view. It's kind of cool.
Then we can upload it onto YouTube.
We could bore millions of people on YouTube.
I love it.
All right. Very well. You know what the only downside I see about this?
What?
Your mom and my mom are going to be panic stricken the entire weekend watching this thing to see if everything's going well.
This is true.
We probably shouldn't tell them.
I like the idea of having a Sentinel.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily we have maybe 2. Depends on how things go. We're going to try. All right. That sounds like a plan. That's the project. We got to get that ready for the next race.
Sounds great.
All right. Very well. Thank you, ma'am. Sideline profession of being a judge, sir.
So yeah, a bunch of years ago, not that many years ago, Manny had I was talking to Kim one day and was like, you know what, he'd like to judge. So was it the year before the COVID stuff? He was a judge up at Thompson.
I remember his first one. Yeah,
his first one. He had fun. He said, you probably should try that one time. So I'm like, well, whatever, maybe not. We'll see how it goes. So COVID comes along, right? And then there's that COVID year, but we actually had a race, the Thompson race. It was, so because I lived in New York and Manuel lived in New York, we were not subject to quarantine rules that were going on at the time. So now they're trying to run a race. They're freaking out. They need people. So hold on, I need a little drink here. I'm talking a lot. So Kim asked Manny, he says, well, do you know anybody who can help? I'm like, yeah, me. So I go up. So I start there. I think I spent all of Thursday. So first of all, if you do remember the wrap-up video, a tropical storm went through the area
We
Oh
do.
boy.
on Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
So Manny and I are going up Thursday. We get a call right before we leave from Kim going, we have no power at the track. Can you just bring up what you can for flashlights and whatever? So grab a pile of flashlights. We head up there. There is literally no power. So we spend Thursday, we get there about 3 p.m. We start, as people are coming, we're like, Manny and I are up at the gate with Kim. Dale is down at the other side of the bridge.
Was this his birthday?
Of course. It's always
okay.
but Dale's always his birthday. Dale is
okay.
great.
I was just making
So-
sure it was on his birthday. So.
Oh, of course. So, we're dealing with all that. So we get through Thursday. Somehow magically we get power either late Thursday or early Friday. I spend the entire day Friday directing traffic because we had to provide everybody. So Lemons, there was no track personnel to do the gate.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Thompson Gate isn't exactly a bar that you have to step over to get past the gates at the debacle every year.
Right. But it was brutally hot. Have to wear a mask, standing outside, directing traffic. So I spent like Friday doing that, early Saturday doing that. So meanwhile, Manuel's having all the fun, teching, BSing cars and all that happy, fun stuff where I'm like dying, trying, not to melt in the sun.
Right.
Right. So eventually we get through that and they're like, all right, go down and help out at penalty. So I started helping out in penalty. I was actually manning the computer. So normally you see Kim sitting on a computer.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing that because she was up in the tower working because they didn't have people. I did a little stint being the fuel guardian. So making sure nobody set themselves on fire.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much did a ton of everything. Kim's like, so, what do you think? I'm like, well, I do this again, but it's assuming, you want me to come back. So it was like, yeah, okay. So it's good. So it's kind of how I got into it. And then, so Manny and I are effectively the judges for Thompson, or at least 2 of the 3. So you'll see us there in August.
Okay.
So all I have to do to get off the waiting list for being a judge is wait for the next plague.
Right.
I'm right there, man. Let me see what I can do.
You're in.
He's all in.
Worries.
He's all in.
Right. So
we're good.
I ended up judging Jersey the following year. I get a note like 2 weeks, a month before the race going, we need somebody. Can you do it? And so I talked to the team. The team is like, we're kind of at we have enough people for 1 car, but not really enough for 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, we'll just bring 1 car and I'll judge. So
at
that point, I'm basically kind of in a rotation. So definitely doing August every year. They needed a body down at Carolina. So I judged down at CMP this past race, which was awesome. You've never done the block party race. It's fantastic.
We keep trying. It just doesn't coincide with school schedule.
So I went down to that race. Fantastic. A ton of work. So it looks like it's all fun and games being a judge. And it is Saturday and Sunday.
Right. It's work to get there, huh?
Yeah. So, what my day was like at Carolina. So I flew in Thursday, got there Thursday night. No big deal. Got up the next morning, went to the track, right? I'm thinking, oh, this will be an easy day, right? Because I technically don't have anything to do until the parade in the evening because the BS judging occurs at the parade. Like, this is great. So I was talking to Mental. We're going over the list of the cars, kind of getting a basic idea of anything new, what it should be classed at, blah, 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 blah. So I decided, well, let me go up to tech. Dale and Dave were doing tech. So I'm like, let me go up to tech and I'll just take a look and see what's there. So, there's always those cars that are questionable, right? You see a Ford Fusion. What class is a Ford Fusion?
I don't know.
Is it a 4-cylinder automatic? Is it a SVT?
Yeah.
Or is it Contour? Yeah. So
Has
bunch
been
of cars.
swapped. Yeah.
So they changed the location of tech. So now tech is basically wide open in the Carolina sun.
Oh, okay.
So I get up there expecting to look at a couple of cars and then make my way back, relax, and blah, blah, blah. Nope. I ended up staying up there for 4 hours, helping Dale and Dave run car tech. So Mental, myself, Dave, and Dale, because it was hot, right?
Mhm.
So so then I do that, run back. After that's all done, run back. Then I've got to head back into town to the staging area for all the cars, help park cars, get back. Once that's done, hop in the back of a pickup truck and then be part of the parade back into town. Once we get into town, it's park all the cars, then do all the BS for all the cars. So I think I got home somewhere around 10:30 that night.
Good thing you had nothing to do that day.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
So that part, Friday, totally exhausting for most of us. And then Saturday and Sunday, not so bad, right? It's basically just sit and yell at the miscreants. And, try to have fun and, deal with the few cars that are occasionally, not driving optimally.
At a lemons race? Never.
Yeah, it happens every once in a while.
Oh, I guess I've heard things about that. Luckily it doesn't happen anymore, so that's good.
Yeah. So that's how I kind of ended up judging. I was basically dragged in because they needed somebody. I kind of fit in with the lunacy, can handle myself. A 6 foot tall, 200-pound guy is not somebody you're going to yell at too much.
No, not too much.
Right.
Except if your name's Vicki, then she yells at me all the time.
All the time. All the time. No.
All the time. That's right.
So, when we go to the track, sometimes we tell ourselves stuff when we're there or encourage our teammates or whatever. Do you guys have a racing philosophy or a motto for your team or an internal dialogue that gets you all pumped up?
I'm trying how we say that. I mean, we've been doing this a long time, so it really doesn't take a lot to get us pumped up for a race. Really, for us, it's because Manuel is actually very competitive. So we're out there trying.
Right.
So I mean, it's
trying with your crappy cars.
Get out there, drive fast, drive clean.
Right.
That's really it. Drive fast, drive clean, and quick pit stops. Our pit stops with a fuel cell are under 3 minutes.
Nice.
From pull in, driver out, drop 20 gallons of fuel, driver in, radio checked, and back out in under 3 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. The driver out definitely slows down the pit stops, but I kind of feel a little happier about doing those than being in the car.
Yeah. So that's kind of it. We're out there when we're in the wagon, especially the wagon, we're out there to race. So everybody gets out there. When we get out to pit, we already know who's doing what. It's already decided on the walkover. It's all very, we'd actually think we might actually know what we're doing type thing. So it can actually get fairly heated in our pits. There's been times where Manuel and I've been yelling at each other.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, but 5 minutes later, it's over. That's it. So ours tends to be fairly tense at times. If everything's going well, then it's all happy and, happy-go-lucky. If it's not going so well, it could not be happy-go-lucky.
Right.
Well, but it really depends on me. If it's truly bad, yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, the pit race, the Javelin was just having problems. It was out. It was doing okay. Driver says, yeah, it's making some noise I don't like. Okay, so we bring it in. Alternator bracket's broken. Still some weird. Basically ended up taking off the transmission drive shaft, trying to find some noise. And we're like, yeah, we're not finding this noise. And we're not sending the car back out there because AMC V8s are not the easiest thing to find anymore.
Right.
In which case it's, all right, well, we're done. Then we had the Thompson race with the Rover where it was, I don't know, it was one of those typical Thompson races where it was, 95 degrees. And we're all sitting there trying to not be the people driving the car at that point in time.
Right.
Because it's too hot. So we send out Craig, one of the younger guys, like, you go out for a while. I don't think he lasted 15 minutes before he grenaded the engine.
Did he?
Oh
my
yeah.
Gosh.
We think something in the top end let go.
Right.
And all hell broke loose at the engine. So, I mean, literally an hour, it's 95 degrees. We're like, all right, have a chat. Like, okay, so can we find a Rover engine? And do we want to replace said Rover engine?
Right.
And we're like, no. So we're like, and I looked at Manuel and I went, Mohegan Sun's like 45 minutes from here.
Yeah, it is.
So you can see where this is going.
Right.
So I think we hung out until about 2 or 3 o'clock, went back to our hotel rooms, showered, piled into one of our SUVs, and ate the buffet at Mohegan Sun. And I think Manuel went like $400 or $500 playing craps.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah.
So $500 is how many Rover engines?
One actually. We ended up replacing that engine because Land Rover, aka Rover, doesn't really like to change anything. So that engine architecture was used, I think, through 89.
Wow.
So we found a junkyard, Land Rover Discovery. What a surprise. Grabbed that engine, converted it back to carbureted, because who wants to use British Electrics in your car?
By choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And basically we had to change a few things, move the camshaft in the original engine actually snapped. So we ended up having to buy a camshaft to use. But we got it all working. And that engine actually ran pretty well for a while. It was, we went from a 3.5, I think, to a 4.9 is the bigger one. So it actually ran pretty good for a while. And that's the engine the TR7 guys blew up. So it ran fine for us.
Yeah. Ran when parked.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So the meat of this podcast.
Yep.
We need to talk about why'd you steal our cookie, man?
Why did we steal it?
Oh, jeez.
It was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was there.
So yeah, let's
Vicki, you want to give a little background on the to bring anybody who isn't up to speed with the cookie, and then we'll talk about its departure from where it ended up.
Yes. So driving, I think we mentioned on a previous podcast, driving the Chrissy's mom's cookie car, with the way that I had to position the cookie on said car, made the car quite top heavy. So I had, in the car, I had 2 relatively rookie drivers to wheel-to-wheel racing. They were autocrossers, and my sister not having tested or worked up to front wheel drive. And again, as I'm driving this car and I'm leaning, the whole car's leaning. I'm like, this is not going to be easy for the girls. So after my first stint, actually, I came in early on my first stint. I didn't actually take the car out to test drive, so I didn't know the car was doing this. So
by coming in early, are you referring to the black flag you got, or
it was after the black flag?
Oh, okay. I noticed how we always seem to skip.
Well, the
over
thing was,
black
no,
flag
I know I did black flag. I did black flag.
Just wanted to bring that up.
So, but at the same time, like when this car was leaning, this car would continue to lean. And, I'm trying to race this thing, and the car's light. The car's very light. So logistically, I was like, this might not be a good time for these girls who are hopping in a car to have to race this like this. So I drove it into the pit. And definitely it was at some point after the black flag, because I was busy out there afterwards testing it to see if, this is what was really happening. So I kind of came back in, and of course our smallest racer, she just jumped right in there, kind of got the gun and started taking out all the bolts and popped it off. And, I hopped back on the track and raced for the next hour, maybe hour and a half, I think at that point. But when I came back in, the cookie was not in our paddock anymore. So I inquired about it. So where's the cookie?
I saw the cookie after not knowing about the black flag, which nobody talked to us about, and not knowing why the cookie was there. So since the cookie wasn't on the car anymore, I figured, hey, maybe the judges can use the cookie. So I walked the cookie down to the judges and said, hey, you guys can use this as a penalty. You can do whatever you want. You can make people drive with it on their hood, whatever you want to do. Have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And then later that day, I see this fine young gentleman running down the street with a cookie on his head.
You saw it?
Yeah. And I think to myself, it's Saturday night at Eleven's party. He's probably got a good idea of what he wants to do. Let's see where it ends up. Chris, you want to take over?
Sure. So we're sitting there, right after the rookie monster comes in. So it being the rookie car, it really didn't get a whole lot really done to it. It doesn't get abused. It was just, it got abused, but it was out fairly limited amount of time for day one. So our normal ritual, right, is after a day of racing, tires get rotated, oil gets changed, fresh filter, kind of double check over the whole car, make sure it's good. So we didn't really bother so much with the rookie monster because it really wasn't doing anything. The focus was on the wagon, which needed 2 new wheel bearings and a bunch of oil and oil change. So, with the typical, oh crap, how do we press wheel bearings and blah, 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 blah. So we spent, 2 hours pressing wheel bearings. And Manuel's like, we need to steal that cookie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay. So in the midst of while they're doing the oil change on the wagon, we kind of walk over. Actually, this must have been earlier in the day. I think the theft occurred actually earlier in the day.
It was before, but I was thinking it was Saturday, and I knew what the evening was going to be. So I was like, there's got to be a plan. I don't know what the plan is.
So I think that actually the theft occurred sometime in the afternoon, because I remember we were all going there, Manuel, myself, his son, and he goes over and starts talking to Kim and everybody. He's standing there, with his arms out, kind of being a big blocker, and he's got one of the other big guys next to him. And his son kind of squeaks behind him, grabs the cookie, and kind of starts going behind it. So what's behind each penalty is also Rich, who is selling the swag. So I went and bought a T-shirt to keep Rick occupied while Zach rolled the cookie out. So not really sure what we're going to do with it at this point. We just know we had to take it. So we wheel it, and we put it under a tarp and hide it by the trailer. So yeah, this is why I kept going back to the evening. So it's sitting there. We finished the day. The rookie monster comes in. They start changing the oil. I'm helping with the bearing press. I'm like, what? No, I'm like, Benny, what are we gonna do with this thing? He goes, I don't know. We gotta make it look like the cookie monster's eating it or something. So I'm looking at it. I look. And I see the 4 bolts on the top of this thing, at the bottom of this thing. And I look, and there's big fender washers. I'm like, Manuel, do you mind if I cut 4 holes? Drill 4 holes in the top of the Saturn? He's like, why? I go, well, this thing's got 4 3/8 bolts in it. He goes, it does? I'm like, yes. I go, all right. So I grab one of the other guys and freaking start drilling holes, kind of get it up there. I'm like, well, we'll see how this goes. Don't know how much trouble we're going to get in because we're covering a number. Meanwhile, I guess Eric had noticed the theft also. It grabs Manuel.
Mm-hmm.
And he just looks at Eric. He goes, who else would steal it? And Eric just like, all right, yeah, true. Kind of just lets it be. So I get this thing all mounted up. And I'm like, well, we actually covered the number on our roof. Is that going to be a problem? Well, worst case, we get black flagged. And all the drivers were told, if you get a black flag, you go in and you report. If they ask you what you did, only admit to stealing a cookie. That's it. Only admit to stealing a cookie. So we're sitting there doing that. So that's what they all did. So I'm sitting there and I see it mounted. So I take a picture of it, because it's dark. So I take a picture of it up. And then one of the guys is putting all the lettering on the trunk, the Cookie Monster Love, Chrissy's mom cookie. Mm-hmm. Take a picture of that. And I keep it dark, right? I don't keep the flash on it. So then I text Eric the pictures of the cookie mounted on the roof, and the text, all I get back from him is LOL, well done. So I figured, okay, we're safe for now. Safe for now. I said,
still have not seen said cookie.
Right. You still have not seen this cookie. This cookie has now disappeared.
The cookie.
And so the weather was not going to be so particularly nice over the weekend. So we're like, all right, we'll cover it with a tarp so we don't get it wet because wasn't sure what it was made of and we didn't want to ruin your cookie. So we cover the whole thing up. So, and then we just, we keep it there overnight. So really it was a totally spur of the moment thing. It was kind of like we're at HQ and we saw this giant cookie and it's Cookie Monster. So, I mean, what else do you expect? So that's kind of how it hatched. We weren't really sure what we were going to do with it at the time, but decided, hey, let's just mount it to the roof of the car. And you are right. It really car handled like trash after that.
It does.
And we had 4 rookie drivers. So there were definite complaints about the handling. I fully expected us to get black flagged within like 5 minutes because of the number being covered. Apparently nobody cares.
Well, what we figured out was, how many cars are going to go by with a 4-foot, 50-pound cookie on their roof? I'm pretty sure they can keep track of that number of cars.
They can figure that out.
Yeah, it's not going to challenge them too hard. So at the start of the race, Vicki goes out Sunday morning, and Sunday it was supposed to rain, right? It was supposed to be a rainy, junky day, and Sunday turns into this beautiful day. Life is great. Vicki goes out first for our team in the Civic again because she doesn't share. She just selfish starts every day. It's just what she does. And so I go up with one of our teammates who's racing with Vicki in the all ladies team, and we're standing on top of the tower waiting for start finish line to get going, and all of a sudden I see our cookie come wheeling out of the pit lane.
That, by the way, we could not have planned that any better. And honestly, we didn't plan it. No. I don't know how it happened. You guys came by us while we were in the pit still. You literally drove right behind us. We still had the tarp on the car. Somehow.
That's why Vicki didn't see it. Plus, she doesn't look anywhere when she's driving. It's right. Don't worry. See, so she said right. So
took the tarp off of it, after a few minutes. It's, rookie drivers, so we're not trying to win anything. So it was all slowly, got the wagon out because the wagon was the important car that was still competing for B. Buckled in the rookie, and we send him out. And we were right across from the little hotels and garages by the straight. So we zip across, climb up. We're sitting up there watching, and I see the Rookie Monster enter pit, and then I see the Mazda. I see Chrissy's mom's Cookie's car coming down the straight as we're literally just past the second dick check. And I'm like, holy crap. They are going to see it right at pit out. And the smile I had on my face was, I'm like, oh my God, we cannot plan this any better. I mean, just total kismet, right? Total kismet. We did not plan it. We just lazily loaded the driver up on there. And holy crap, the car passed it as we were getting on the track. So I'm like, now one of two things are going to happen. They are going to be extraordinarily pissed off at us. Or they're going to laugh their asses off and crash a car.
So that's exactly what the commentary on our video was either Vicki's going to get really upset that somebody took her cookie, or she's going to not be able to drive straight because she's going to be laughing too hard in the car.
It was the second. Because at that point I was just like, oh, that is so perfect. That is just so perfect. Because literally when I was on the track, every chance I could to catch up with the Cookie Monster. And even if I kind of went around, and I would always look for the Cookie Monster, and I would try to go near the Cookie Monster, try to get in front of the Cookie Monster, with the cookie, tease the cookie car, tease Cookie Monster with my.
It's like Pac-Man, waka waka waka.
Right. I was busy doing that. It was quite hilarious. I must say yes.
So I mean, we're sitting here driving, and we're talking to the guys in the car, like, nobody's been black flagged. I figured we're going to, at some point also was meaning, well, maybe they're going to have this crazy idea of go to the judges and tell them to black flag our car so they can claim their cookie back.
Oh, no, we were fine.
No,
just out of a joke. Because that would have been hilarious.
Oh,
Just
Oh
said,
my gosh.
hey, Black Flag Car 30, they stole our cookie.
Cookie stealing bastards.
It was
Cookie
just
stealing
so
bastards.
freaking awesome. We loved it.
So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. We took
It was great.
we mounted it up nice and snug. Apparently it does adversely affect handling.
Yeah.
We took good care of it, made sure to return it in as good a shape as we got it.
Mhm.
Oh,
And I'm, as I said, so glad you guys had the proper lemon sense of humor that you
for
didn't
sure.
mind a 50-pound cookie being stolen.
Nope, it's fine. We were fine with it. It was one of the highlights of the weekend for us, and the only thing that made it better than somebody stealing a cookie and using it was that it was the Cookie Monster who did it.
It was just natural.
It had to
And
happen.
it was completely unplanned. We were so busy with the test day and everything. I didn't even see your car.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
I never saw it. So I didn't even know where this cookie came from. It was just this cookie at HQ.
Mhm.
It's hard to miss. I mean, it's like 4 feet. It's a big cookie.
But I had no idea your car, your theme, or anything.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
We-
literally no
we
idea.
saw yours. We saw yours just literally when I was out on track, and I was radioing it. There's a Cookie Monster.
We were just, between getting the wagon ready because it needed some things, worrying about the rookies. We spent a lot of time having to coach the rookies, making sure
Mhm.
they were out there. Some guys didn't drive stick. Some guys are not sure what to do. So it was a very busy day. So I never really noticed it. And I was out on the track only for like 5 or 6 laps at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Since it was a pseudo fresh build, we're like, well, we're not going to send a bunch of rookies out in a car. So I'm like, I've got, I don't know how many hundreds of laps on Thunderbolt. So let me just go take the car and, just progressively work through it, make sure the brake, all the typical stuff, make sure the brakes are working, make sure no wheels are going to fall off. So I'm like, did it all right. Got it up to about, 100, 110 on one of the front straight. And I'm like, all right, this is good enough. And pulled it in and started sending the rookies out.
Mhm.
So your drivers enjoyed the cookie improvement on handling as much as ours did.
They loved it.
Did it result in any black flags due to the listing of the car?
No, actually. So there was only one black flag on day 2, and it actually I don't even think that one counted. No, there actually was no black flags day 2. Day 1, there was a black flag and then a self-report because they got partially run off the track and they sent a tire off, so he just reported.
Yeah, we can't say the same, and we didn't have a cookie on our flag on our car.
But that was day 1. Day 2, I don't think so, but there was kind of like none of them were used to the car anyway, so you're not gonna really notice. Had I gotten into it, I probably would have been like, oh my god, this is terrible. And then I'm thinking, oh wait, it's just like driving the Rover.
Yeah, it could be. And I think percentage wise, it probably was a higher percentage of the Honda than it was of your car, but not a lot different. It definitely isn't going to help. Those F1 engineers thinking that keep all the weight low is they're probably right. We've tested it. We agree.
I think they're right also.
Yeah, they might know a thing or two. Yeah.
No, it made my weekend.
Honestly, it made our weekend too. I mean, it was
did.
just it took.
You know what? It made Lemon's weekend.
I mean, there was social media gold for them.
It was.
Was.
It was, especially just got that one good picture of the cookie chasing the Cookie Monster with the cookie on top. It was perfect.
Yep.
So I mean, it was the double picture with the swipe right to see who stole the cookie.
Oh no.
So you being a judge, especially since you're the judge at Thompson, which is our next race, you have not seen the entire theme and bribery scheme that we have set up for the car because we want it to be fresh for you, new. So you'll see more about this after Thompson. So.
I look forward to. I always love a good theme.
Yeah.
I almost at times want to give teams penalty laps that don't show up with at least something resembling a theme.
Yes, I fully agree.
I think Dale was complaining about it at one time too. Just, why do so few cars have themes? I mean, come on, we need more themes. Like, all right, Dale.
You know what we should do for his birthday? We should get him themes. on cars.
Oh my
There you
gosh!
go.
But the Dale team was hysterical.
The Dale
That was
team
great.
was.
That was great.
That was fantastic.
It's like clones of Dale running around.
I tell you, the one thing about in our area is that pit race starts us off for the season, and pit race is great. It's a great track. It's fun, but the weather is sketch. It's cold at
'Cause
times.
it's
It
early.
can be. It's
Early in the
early. It's very early in the season, but it's the New Jersey one where everybody starts getting a little looser. It's warm. All their friends are out. The themes really start to show up at that point. So and the New Jersey one gets a little bit crazier than I would say some of the other races.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, at least for us, is Pittsburgh is far away.
It is.
It
It's far
is.
for us. Now, where are you guys located out of?
So I'm on Long Island. Manuel's up in Beacon, but
Yeah, we're Northeast Pennsylvania, so it's a haul, but it's not terrible.
Right.
The
Yeah, I mean, I
Carolinas is a
pass
haul
your
for
house
us.
after I've been on the road for an hour and a
Yeah,
half.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Exactly.
the haul for us is New Hampshire.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's a
Plus-
tough one.
Plus, it's October, so school.
And Halloween, and kids with Halloween.
Yeah. That's somewhat far for me, but it's it's long, but it's a great track. The facilities are fantastic. You get the Halloween stuff. It's great. You get the pumpkin chunkin.
I have yet to catch the pumpkin chunkin.
Oh, there's the pumpkin chunkin. Then
You don't want to catch it.
A lot of times they've done a drift car event going on the parking lot on the other side of the track. When you go into the tunnel to get into the infield.
Right.
Behind that, they have a giant parking lot. They run a bunch of cars doing drifting. So
I haven't gotten out of
it's
our
a
paddock.
drive, but it's worth it.
It is. It is.
It's a lot of gas and a lot of
Yes,
time. I mean,
indeed.
That's
So
a Thursday, Monday. Take off
Easily.
Thursday, drive up, drive back home Monday.
Yeah, easily, and don't feel good on Tuesday, even if it took off Monday. But yes.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you've got this extensive experience. You're a judge. I thought maybe we'd have a quick description for those who haven't done a Lemons race, maybe what BS Tech is, and maybe some tips of what to do and what not to do, and some of the cliches that you want to try to stay away from, because we've been BS teching for a decade or more now, and the judges only can get so much booze. So
yeah. So I mean, what BS is, and at its heart is really to class the car, right? Is class the car and figure out how cheaty you tried to make the car. Classing a car was it's part voodoo, part knowledge, right? It's you look at a car and you say, all right, well, what is this? What is this? Right? How is this going to fit into the classes, right? And the traditional classes are A, B, C, the good, the bad, the ugly. Broken down to A is what we say is a chance to win the race, B is a chance to finish the race, and C just has no chance. Every judge is a little different, right? How they see the classes. Manuel and I tend to be a bit stricter. Like, I would like to see more cars in A, more cars in B. I like to see Class C being pure. Like, you're not getting into C unless you have a terrible car.
you're like those Hall of Fame people. Like, if I have to think about whether you belong in the Hall of Fame, you're not a Hall of Famer.
Right. So what happens, right? So now we get this car, right? And, we've been doing this a long time. What cars are good, right? So if I see, an E30 or anything relative to BMW, it's going in A. It's just a matter of how many laps are you getting,
Penalty laps.
Penalty laps, right? So if you just get your BMWs, your Integras, some Civics, there's a lot of cars. Which cars are good, especially in Northeast. There's not a lot of new cars. So, you've got your V8 Mustangs, you've got these cars and your Miatas. Those are A-class cars. B cars, you've got your Subarus, You've got your Ford Focuses. Those are the two most common. You've got anything either Audi or VW, Audi VW. They're generally B cars. Sadly, the turbos are actually worse reliability record than the non-turbos.
We might have to send this podcast to Tom Lamino as part of his intervention.
Yeah. I mean, a friend of ours who started out with us for a race before building his own car had a turbo Beetle, the after Bimmer.
Oh,
the bright red Beetle. So that's the 1.8 turbo car, and then there's the Beetle that's dressed up as the honeybees.
Yep.
So they're both in B, and I guarantee you, if you looked, the non-turbo cars probably turned more laps.
Oh, for sure, almost always.
So you got your VWs, your Subarus, and all that's B. And also then you have the typical any car that's 1C is in B. Again, the same thing. Any car that 1B goes into A. C is now. This is really where I like to try to keep it where I can. I mean, cars I've put into C, the Neighborinos. You've met the Neighborinos?
I have. I do remember.
1.6 liter Toyota Corolla automatic. Dressed up as Ned Flanders. All of them grew out mustaches. Fantastic.
Yep.
So it's, you got, obviously your land yachts like the Cordoba, the Javelin, is terrible. It weighs like 8,000 pounds and blows up on a regular basis. Large full-size cars like the Cajun Popo, like the Monacos. And so truly terrible cars, the Ford Escort with the Hesher theme. So that's your good classes, A, B, and C. A and B really should be your biggest classes.
And now, B seems to be, at least most of the time, seems to be the one that has the most cars.
Right. It's basically your catch-all, right? So we do it that way. Some judges like to take into account the quality of the team when making their classing.
We hope so.
Right. To a point. Like, I'm not going to put an E36 in B. I don't care how bad your team is. You have an E36. You just need a deal. So some do, some take into account. I will take that into account if the car itself is borderline. So if it's kind of it's, this kind of car, not like it. If it's a Chevette, yeah, it's going in C. But if there's always that car where you've got, the 4-cylinder automatic, like the Malibus.
Right.
Those are C cars in certain trims, and other trims, not so much. That's where your bribes and your team can get you, right? A bribe is, at least in my opinion, is not getting you classed horribly out of class, right? I'm not going to. There's no bribe that's going to get your Class A car in C, right? It's never going to happen. Where your bribe wins is for things like, and I see those coilovers that are there. It helps smooth over budgetary indiscretions, budgetary games. There's no BMWs going in, E36s going into C, right? It's
right.
There's only so much of it we can do. Hopelessness of the team matters when the car is questionable. So again, this is mine. If you talk to Eric or you talk to Mental, you might get a slightly different perspective on this.
It also shows, I always think of BS as showing, do you get what Lemons is?
Right. And for things like Chrissy's, the white Mazda, right? That's a borderline car, right? They can be A-class cars. But you know what? They take care of and feed the judges.
Sure.
They're a lot of fun around the paddock. You know what? They can be in B. Don't care.
Until they win.
Then all bets are off. As much as I like them, and I love Chrissy's mom's cookies, they're like crack.
They are.
And,
it would be a great theme if somebody did that.
I know. So yeah, I mean, that's really what BS is.
Mhm.
It's really just trying to find roughly the proper class of the car. My main goal is to not grossly misclass something, because the reality is 99% of the time it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. If I put a car in B that was supposed to be an A, you know what the odds of that car actually winning B are?
Not very high. Usually like
Right.
50 or 60 to 1.
Right. So if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. So my goal is, you know, if as long as something didn't get grossly misclassed, it's all good. You know, I'm happy if like the top 15 or so cars are all A. You
And
know,
usually the B cars are, to win B, you're usually in the top 10 recently. It's kind of crazy.
It's been, I mean, because I say we've come in second in B twice with 15th overall.
Yeah.
And that is literally a one-stop day 2 and 2 or 3 and like a 2-stop day 1. And running full bore with drivers who actually are really good drivers.
Right.
So I try to see at a minimum no B cars in the top 10. Preferably none in the top 15. But if one sneaks in there, not a big deal, right? Because if it's well done, well built with a well-run team, you can do it. So that's my take on the classing in BS. It's really just, let's just get the cars in a reasonable setup. Because I honestly don't care who wins. I'm prototypical old school lemons. That is the least important thing in my mind.
Sure. That's the focus of our team meeting every morning.
Right. Don't care who wins. So the only thing I care about is to make sure it's somewhat reasonable for those that care.
Right.
Like Manny, he doesn't care anything past the top 10.
This is true. So are there any tips or do's and don'ts that you would like to see or see for
So
getting through
as far as BS concerned, I want to see themes. I love themes. Make sure your tech sheet is
theme will get you classed up, right?
No, you definitely will not get a higher class because of your theme, but you can get a lower, mounting 50-pound cookies on your roof, could definitely help the classing of your vehicle.
It didn't help us, but we're going to talk to the judges at Thompson and see if they understand our plight, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, there was at Jersey last year when I was judging, they had a somewhat cheaty Volvo with the IKEA theme.
Yes, with the chair.
Right. So they told them if they ran with all that furniture on it and the lap times are reasonable, they could put them in a lower class.
That's fantastic.
Right.
And it looks great out on the track too.
So I'm all for, you want to get into a lower class, make sure there's stuff attached to your roof,
You're right.
Stupid overweight theming. It's like you do that stuff, have that, make sure you know your shit. If I talk to you, make sure you understand. I mean, because honestly, I'm actually the easier one to sneak things by. Not Manuel.
No.
He's a mechanical genius.
Yeah, I mean, he's got over cars and went, yeah, no, that's that. You've got like Heim joint. I mean, just like was ripping into cars. I'm like, he cannot tell all the differences between you tell me you've got a K-swap. I don't know. Right. Like I see an engine. It looks like an engine. How many cylinders are there? Okay, great.
Right.
This one's metal.
He was like, oh no, that's out of an Acura. And I'm like, whatever. Don't care. They're all going to blow up anyway. So.
Right. They're all designed to do that.
Right. So he is much harder to sneak cheating stuff past than I am. Like I'll look at it. I mean, honestly, I can tell you have coilovers by looking at the stance of the car, or I'm 220 pounds. If I sit on your fender and it doesn't move,
right,
you're cheating.
Well, no, it's the weight of the cookie has pre-compressed.
There you go.
Our springs.
That's pre-compressed your springs.
That's right. It's the cookie. It's all the cookie, man.
It's all about the cookie.
That's right.
I did it all for the cookie.
You did it all for the cookie. For the experienced Lemons cars, the cars that have been out there 100 times, we know what the car is. Right. So having the theme is great, being fun, the bribes are always helpful. For the experienced cars where the bribes help you, is when you come in for that third penalty in the
Mhm.
day,
Mhm.
and we're deciding, are you getting parked? Are you getting embarrassed? Or are we going to let you go with one more stern warning?
I vote embarrassed always.
Well, if you looked at the CMP wrap-up video,
Yes, I did.
yeah, I had to do that to a lot of cars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we did
So-
see somebody have to get tied to the top of the roof for this one race.
There was guy top to top of the roof. There was the jewelry penalty, by the way, amazing,
The jewelry penalty?
where the guy had to make the necklace. The guys had to make the necklace.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I
it
think
was
she
go
missed
watch.
that one.
She missed it in the wrap up.
Hmm.
So that was Judge
Um,
Steve was there, and he was like, I want a piece of jewelry, and he set up criteria like 3 different zip ties, a car part, and make a necklace. So we parked this car as Tercel out there, and like, just go out and do this, right?
Hmm.
20 minutes later, they're not back. I'm like, okay, go about doing judge things.
Hmm.
20 more minutes, they're still not back. Like, what are these guys doing?
Oh, geez.
Right. And if you've seen the wrap up, there's like me like lying on the car waiting.
Yep.
They come back after, I don't know, an hour and a half. Like we actually paged them to tell them just come back.
Hmm.
They came back with what it was like a piece of art.
Wow.
Really, it didn't look that good in the video. I was going to say it. I mean,
It actually was much better in person.
okay, because the
they
video it
actually-
looked kind of like, what took you guys so long?
He went.
Yeah.
They went all in.
It was a giant, it was like a top of a top timing gear.
Hmm.
They actually painted numbers on it, put the time on it. It made zip tie
Wow.
necklace, and like every zip tie was exactly the same diameter.
Oh, wow.
and it was like a Flava Flav type vibe to it.
Oh, jeez.
They came back and I'm like, what were you guys doing? He says, look, if we're gonna get in trouble, we're gonna,
Right. Right.
That reminds me of a certain Bob Ross penalty that occurred at Lemon's Lightning, New Jersey.
Yep.
They kept walking over to Vicki and Jen saying, "You're done. You can go." And they're like, "No, we need another cloud. We need another
Okay.
We
tree."
need another happy cloud.
Exactly.
I love Bob Ross.
Killing me.
Spent many mornings hungover in college watching him.
Oh,
Mhm.
jeez.
He was on Sunday morning.
I
up where
remember.
went to school.
Yep.
Yeah.
PBS.
Yep. But so yeah, bribes are, for the more experienced teams where we know you fit in, bribes
Mhm.
are great for when something questionable happens.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Where like, all right, well, or especially helpful, like it's the end of the day and it's your third flag,
Hmm.
and we should make you sit for the rest of the day because there's only like an hour left.
Right.
Right.
Well, you know what? You did a little bribe, just go back out. Right. And if I see you again, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
bribes are great if your car is a little, especially if it's a first time through tech,
Mhm.
first time, and you probably went over budget a little bit, and, all right, well, it helps smooth things over. I mean, it's in the rules, right? If you look, bribery is encouraged,
Mhm.
so it's part of the deal. Where bribes get you is they get you the gray area.
Yep.
So if you want, preferential treatment in the gray area, bribes and theme are a fantastic way to
Mhm.
help that out. And and I think I've said this before on like Facebook and some of the, like these various forums,
Mhm.
bribes are amazing, but know your audience with the bribes
Mhm.
or neat things. So a lot of the judges and people fly in.
Right.
So, there's only so much. So Dale and Ken drive, right? So you could do whatever the hell you want for them.
Mhm.
But like when I went down to Carolina, there were some
Mhm.
awesome bribes, but there's no way I was gonna, I can't.
I'm not taking this through TSA.
I can't take, a 750 of Jack
Mhm.
through. It's not going to work.
Mhm.
So know your audience, right? So
Right.
if you're going to spring bribes, in my opinion, honestly, the corner workers are the ones who really truly need to be taken care of. Like all the safety workers,
Right.
stuff for them, the snacks, the drinks, take care of them. make sure Dale and Ken and all those people, they've got stuff for them. Because honestly, I said this before, after Friday, my job becomes a lot easier. Right. I sit there and just yell at you guys when you come in for making a mistake. But Dale and Ken and whoever else is volunteering, in the fueling area, making sure you guys don't set yourself on fire. Dale at what we call dick check. You guys know what we say when we say dick check?
Yep.
Basically standing out in the sun at Thompson for hours, making sure you go out with your belts done properly. You want to buy said, make sure those guys are taken care of. I mean, so it's kind of know your audience as far as when you're doing bribes. If you show up, with the joke of, a suitcase full of SpaghettiOs.
Yep.
It's hilarious, but what the hell are we going to do with that?
Lunch.
Right. So, I mean, we've had people show up with like monstrous displays, and I'm like, okay.
Thank you.
Right. They're fun. I mean, somebody set up, and it was fun, and we played with it for a while. They set up like a Matchbox track with a loop on it. So we played with that for a while, but really, there's only so much we can do with it.
Sure. So speaking of your phrase of know your audience, right?
Right.
One of the things that I've been doing, and I think would be easier if it was kind of like put on the page for each race, is who's coming.
It's who's judging.
Yes. Because certain judges, have different interests, and you can actually tailor it to the judge or to the corner worker or whoever's coming. We kind of need the team, and we can do a better job of BS tech for you.
I will mention it to those two in charge. I mean, generally speaking, unless I'm actually judging that race, I have no idea who's going to be there.
Oh, I know. So speaking of Thompson,
right?
Who's going to be there for Thompson? Do we know yet?
So I'm judging. Manny's judging. Are definite. I think the third judge is Aaron.
Aaron? Okay.
He was at
New Jersey.
He was at Jersey with Eric and Steve.
Yeah, he misclassed our car, but we still like him.
Oh, he put you in C?
B.
Oh, poor babies.
I know. We're gonna make a plea.
So my understanding is that Aaron will be there with Manny and I.
Okay.
That was the last communication. That's what I talked to Kim when I was there. At some point in time, once we get a bit closer, then I start receiving piles of email. Which is who's going to be there, who's getting in when, who's got what flights, event schedule, everything. But for right now, it's like, I mean, honestly, I did not know I was working Carolina until Pittsburgh.
Wow.
But that was a short notice kind of, she couldn't get the people. So I made myself available.
Sure. Well, at this point, I may be carless, so driverless. So if you need some help, let me know. I can usually do something.
We can always have fun. There's always fun with stragglers. I think Lamino, actually, his car broke. And
Tom's car?
Oh, there was apparently a rash of speeders coming off of the track, which Jay does not like.
No, not at all.
So the first person who caused trouble, we made them sit at penalty, track off with the radar gun.
Yep.
Timing cars. And then at some point it was still not great. So Tom was there yelling at drivers for us.
Huh. Yeah, Tom didn't have good luck in the last race.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's always fun stuff to do. And if you're, one of those things you're trying to get in to be a judge, then having you around and helping out might ingratiate you.
No worries.
To that group.
You
may be stuck with me. Who knows?
Kim is the one you kiss up to.
Oh,
really?
Kim's in charge.
Kim is the
Grand Poobah.
Kim's boss lady.
That's
right.
the boss lady. Whatever she says, I do.
Okay.
Exactly.
Whatever. I get there in the morning. Kim, what do you need me to do?
That's right. Let me see.
I mean, Eric is, I Eric is, Lemons is kind of weird
Mhm.
in that a lot of us, there are certain people who are Lemons employees like Kim
Mhm.
and Jay, and then there's basically me, who is effectively a contract worker.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right. I get that's it. It's just, I show up at a couple events and that's kind of it. So, but Kim is the one who's running everything. Eric, I think, is effectively a Lemons employee, a more full-time Lemons employee.
Oh,
I
he's
don't really
everything.
know.
He's everything bagel.
Right. He's everything bagel. And, if Kim's not around, then I go to him.
Exactly.
Or if it's judgy stuff, I talk to him. If it's okay, the race doesn't start for 3 hours, what do you need me to do?
Sure.
That's how I take it. And that's what Dale told me to do. So I listen to Dale.
Always listen to Dale.
Always listen to Dale. Dale is awesome.
Exactly.
Right.
Praise Dale.
Always.
Praise Dale.
So do you have any with your experience as a Lemons participant, driver, attendee, judge, any favorite BS stories or penalties that we could share with the audience that you may have seen or given?
That's a good one. BS penalties. I said that the one with the necklace was actually pretty good. That was fun. I can't believe they did that. Hopefully everything works. There's going to be some fun ones at Thompson.
Nice.
Because Manuel and I are devious.
Mhm.
And so we have ideas. I mean, obviously, would you guys participate in the Olympics last year?
I saw the Olympics. We were not there.
Okay.
No, we were there. We were running around like crazy people with the first ladies team for Garage Heroes. So
that was an absolute blast to do. I mean, by far, most penalties are not too fun.
Mhm.
It's hard to, you kind of have to make them fun. I mean, one of the favorites I did during COVID, which was made everybody use fabric markers and draw their offenses on their cloth masks.
Oh, nice.
I handed them like a bunch of cloth masks and fabric markers.
Mhm.
And they had gotten, at this point, it was like their 4th or 5th flag for the weekend. So they were not for the day, but it had been a bunch.
Yeah,
so they
plenty.
made them draw out every one of their offenses and then present it. So that one was great. There was Jay had a good one. Apparently some team came in with non-spec tires.
Every now and then you see people try that.
Yeah, so he caught them. They claimed not to have regular tires. So he told them to take all the wheels and tires off the car. So pull the rims, take all the tires over to, I forgot what corner it was, where there was a little grandstand at Jersey, stack them up and sit there for like 20 minutes and show the tires how real race cars are supposed to be. And then draw out the picture of the thing and then bring it back. So that was brilliant. Loved that one. Honestly, one of the most surprising ones I did, that I was surprised at how well it ended up coming out, was Jersey last year. Eric went on a kick of like drawing.
Mhm.
So he brought his chalks and a sketch pad. And so everybody who was like, you had to go draw your offense, and we were hanging it up on the table. And going with the fabric marker theme, I'm like, when I got these fabric markers, it's actually like a little rose on a piece of cloth, like a little, I don't know why they did this, because I've never been able to find another one.
Right.
So I handed the markers and that to a team. I said, I want this drawn in, basically I want the artwork filled in.
Right.
And mounted on the hood of your car.
Right. Oh, wow.
They came back after about a half an hour and it looked amazing. They took time. It was a rose. So they had all the petals done.
Wow,
The
no way.
petals were shaded and they had it mounted on their car all nice. Like they didn't use a ton of duct tape to like cover the image up.
Right.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Another of my favorite penalties, because it was actually, we were made part of it one time, and then I was able to use, was, you guys familiar with the rolling roadblock?
No.
So a number of years ago when we had Grover,
Right.
we were racing up in New Hampshire, and we're sitting there on the main straight, on the inside on the paddock, looking at the main straight, watching our driver Steve go. We look, and you see him coming. There's a Miata behind him. I'm like, all right, whatever. Go around. He comes around again. Miata's still behind him.
Wow.
I'm like, Steve's really wheeling it. Like, I don't know how, but he's really wheeling it. This is great. Next lap, there's a Camaro behind the Miata. Like, okay. Come around again. There's still Rover, Miata, Camaro. I'm like, something strange is going on. Sure enough, as we're sitting there, the teammates of the Miata come by, and he goes, "So you figured it out that you're being used for a penalty?"
Wow. Oh, wow.
I'm like,
wow.
No, what happened? He goes, "Well, apparently the drivers of the Miata were not being particularly good."
Right.
But it wasn't park the car for a long period of time worthy. So Judge Phil, while he was still coming, was like, okay, guys need to learn how to drive. So he said, you can go out and race, but you cannot pass the Rover.
Oh, geez.
So he goes out, right? Rover's out there. And so basically there's this Miata, trailing the Rover.
Right.
And then apparently a Camaro was being a bit naughty as well. So Phil told him that you could pass any car you want, but not the Miata, car number or whatever, 97.
Right.
So now the Camaro is out there. He can't pass the Miata, and the Miata cannot pass the Rover. So there's literally like 10 laps of just the Rover leading the Miata and the Camaro.
Gosh. Oh gosh.
It was fantastic. So I actually brought that back in Jersey because I've been wanting to see that done for a long time. Actually, I think I inflicted it on Yuri. He had a bunch of new guys, and they just were not cooperating. Had a minor mechanical was attached to a black flag, so they had a black flag, but it was leaking something, so whatever. So they had to go deal with that before they served their black flag. So I said, all right, well, when you come back, when you're done, just come back. So they come back, and I'm like, I look over at Kim. I said, his car, blah, 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 still out there. She goes, yeah. So I said, all right, here's your punishment. You can go back on the track. Because I didn't want to keep them in for too long because they already had to sit out for mechanical. So I figured it might be nice. So I said, you can go out and pass any car but 94.
Oh, wow.
94 was the Corolla, the 1.6 liter 3-speed automatic Corolla.
Right.
So they went out and had to sit there and do. So and this is, I think, the Ultima. So the Ultima had to sit there driving behind a Corolla.
Oh gosh.
I was like,
oh gosh, that was probably agony, absolute agony.
Right. But it is a way to put you in the place. And I was talking to the driver after. He goes, holy crap, those guys can really drive that Corolla.
Oh gosh. So, I mean, what does it take to become a judge? You just volunteer?
Yeah, I mean, that's, in my case, I was kind of volunteered, but Manuel just was talking to them and said, hey, if you ever need somebody,
right,
I'm available. So that's kind of,
and
that's how it happened for Manuel, and I just got dragged in.
Right.
So it just helps that, it's good. I'm a good candidate because I have a very flexible work schedule. So I could give me 2 weeks. Like I literally had 2 weeks notice to go to Carolina.
Wow. So, I mean, you just volunteered. Is there any training that you do, or do you have to?
I no real training. They gave me a sheet with some kind of general rules. So there's here's your responsibilities. You do this, you do this. So I got to kind of list your responsibilities, one of which is, judging and, BS. meeting out penalties, media.
Right.
It's in the job description.
Media, take lots of pictures.
Take lots of pictures. And my first time, quote, helping, I was really only a partial judge in that I was helping out around, I was out in, fuel, the hot pits, keeping an eye, make sure people didn't burn them. It helps if you've been around a long time.
Right.
Because, I've been doing this since 2009. So I know how things work.
Right.
Right. I've been through tech an ungodly number of times. I think I've been to 40 some odd races.
Right.
So I know how to deal with black flags because occasionally I get one. My best streak was 6 years without one, but I still get them.
So do you prefer judging or racing or both?
No, it's different, right? Racing is a lot of fun. Absolutely. It's a blast. So I don't know that I prefer, they're just different experiences. So,
but all of Lemons is awesome.
Right. So when you're out there on the track, there's no feeling like it. The very first race with the javelin, as big and heavy and that thing is, the first time you turn into a corner at speed, you realize, holy crap, they actually knew what they were doing when they designed the suspension. And that thing will turn in perfectly.
Really?
It will go exactly where you point it.
That's awesome.
I'm sitting there after like the 5th or 6th lap. I get on the radio, and Manny said, "This freaking car is awesome." And like, zoom, and I just, just smiling the whole time. Where I don't like racing as much is when we're in things like the Saturn and I've got to do 2.5 hours.
Yeah. And
where I've got to be there and you got to be on. And when you're driving a Saturn for 2.5 hours, you have to be on, right? You're slow. You've got to deal with a lot more traffic, right? You got to worry about cars overtaking. You've got the few cars you can pass. You have to make sure you line it up right. Because if you don't carry your momentum, you're done.
Right.
So sometimes, it's really the moment. So, I love racing. Judging is absolute blast.
Right.
So they're two different things. And one of the reasons I judge Thompson is honestly, I'm not that fond of Thompson. I'm not that fond of the track. The weather is hot. Like
Thompson is rough for everybody. The showers are terrible.
That's nice. It's nice editing there. I like that.
Sorry, but it's true. It's true. Edit it. Edit it out if you want.
No, you self-edited. No, that's why I was saying thank you, because I know what you wanted to say about the showers.
I know they're terrible.
So that's kind of why I'm perfectly content. To judge that race, and it also takes a bit of the load off of trying to keep all the cars prepped, because otherwise, right, we spend most of our off season. If we're building a new car, that's when it happens. Otherwise, it's whatever upgrades we want to do to the 3 cars that are in the stable. So that gets done, and then once the reseason starts, you've got early April, you're at pit. Right? If nothing breaks, right, you've got early, something mid-June, you've got to be back and ready for Jersey.
Right.
And otherwise, then it's only about 6 weeks until Thompson, and then another 2 months and change to New Hampshire.
In our life cycle with racing, it's like filled with HPDEs in between.
Right. So you're doing that. So meanwhile, we're in between these races. We've got to fix anything that broke.
Right.
And we all have full-time jobs, right? Manuel owns a repair shop. I've got a full-time job. Everybody's got full-time jobs. So I'm spending, every weekend or every other weekend up there. Right. Basically after, in a week or two, that's done. I got to head up to Manny's. We got to pull the engine on the Javelin to find out what noise it's making.
Right.
So luckily, the only thing that broke at Jersey was the clutch got wasted on the Rookie Monster. So that's why I didn't take the checker. It was about an hour left.
Yeah.
Hour and a half. Yeah.
We literally ran out of gas in the parade line when she pulled out right in front of us.
We had a plan for you.
I know.
If you made it.
You told us the plan.
Yeah.
I was so in for it and so excited to do that.
Yep.
To the point where I was debating actually kicking the rookies out and taking the checkered flag myself so I could do it.
Oh, geez. What was the plan?
Don't worry.
Don't worry. We'll save it maybe another day.
Save it for another time.
Save it for another day.
It may happen in the future.
Jeez. Will we be reintroduced to the rookie monster?
Rookie monster will definitely make an appearance again. I don't know if it'll be New Hampshire.
Okay.
But will almost definitely be Jersey next year.
Awesome.
It's a matter of, since New Hampshire is a haul, it's really a matter of how many cars do we want to bring. So we have a stable of 12 or 13 people.
Right.
We understand.
So depending on how many want to go, and likely most of the rookies will be in school.
True.
So it's just, we were capped at 2 cars for New Hampshire. We have the equipment to bring 3, but
Three's
a lot of gas, a lot of driving.
That's a lot of a lot.
It's a lot of a lot. You know how it is if you have multiple cars. 1 car is a pile of work. 2 cars is probably 3 times that work. And then I don't even know what a 3rd car is because we haven't been stupid enough to do that yet.
Right.
Yeah. Try not to. It really isn't fun.
Yeah. So Rookie Monster will definitely be back. Most likely Jersey, unless for some reason they want to bring it to New Hampshire. And we run 2 dual overhead cam cars as opposed to a single overhead cam and a dual overhead cam car.
I can see that. So Chris, we've gone on pretty good. We're not going to have time to do the Fast and Furious story time questions, so you're just going to have to come back again. We've got more stories to talk about. We've got more questions, but you brought up a topic that I thought was particularly interesting, as it's something we haven't even talked about yet. And it was, you guys run up to 4 hours as a stint. So we're wondering if you would share with our audience and us, honestly, how do you take care of the driver for such a long time on track? Because as everybody tells you on Monday or Tuesday when you go back to work, all you did was drive. But driving for more than like 2 hours is not easy.
Yeah. We only have, so in those cases, so if it's a single stop day, what is day 2 in New Hampshire? Is it the 7 or the 7.5?
I want to say it's 7.5, but I don't remember. We haven't done New Hampshire in 3 years.
Right. So if it's the 7.5, it's 3 hour 45 minutes per. Yeah, that's it. We only have like 2 drivers, two of the drivers. I have no interest in doing that. Won't do that. There are drivers who will do it, and they're happy to do it. So we have a fair amount of extra stuff in our car. So if you look at our dash, there's a lot of switches. One of them is for drinks.
Do you have shiatsu massage? I'm just asking.
I wish. We do have a drink system.
Oh, okay.
So up until about a year ago, it's just a basic cooler with 2 1-gallon jugs of water. That's strapped down. There's a tube with a bite valve. The tube is connected to a washer fluid pump.
Oh, okay.
So you basically hit a button either on the steering wheel or on the dash. I forget where it is on that car. So if you get to a yellow or you just feel like it, you just hit the button, open the bite valve, and it will give you life-saving liquids. So that's always helpful. It's actually strong enough that it'll hit somebody from about 6 feet away. We've tested it. We've popped open the bite valve and hit it. So you can either drink that water, or you actually, some of us will actually just spray it on our faces under the helmet. We also have a 12-volt fan that blows on the driver. There's also a reason why the Saturn is painted white. That car is not white. That car is actually black.
Oh.
But we painted over it white, and also the interior, because that way it reflects more heat.
Yes.
So we do that. year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we changed out the cooler to a bigger cooler where we still keep the 2 gallons of water, but we built a cool suit system. So now we have the ability to run a cool shirt. So
you're not
cool
drinking
shirt
the
and
cool shirt.
You're not what?
You're not drinking the cool suit, are you?
No.
Oh, stop.
So there's
Okay.
2 1-gallon jugs. So
Okay.
the cooler is wide
What?
enough for 2 1-gallon jugs next to each other. And then that sits in a bath of ice water with a 12-volt sump pump like they would use for a boat plumbed in. And you hit a switch and it circulates cold water. Basically, the ice water that's in the cooler that's keeping the drinks cool circulates through your cool suit. So basically so between the drinks and the cool suit, it helps maintain driver comfort.
Right.
Okay. So it's not the rumor that you just got the 2 dumbest people you could find and threw them in your car, and that's how you were getting to do this. Okay. All right. Let's just check.
Well, some might question the intelligence of some of them, but that's a different issue.
Very well.
Yeah, some people are built for it better than others. Manuel and I know it's I haven't actually had a chance to use the cool shirt yet. If we were racing Jersey, if I was actually driving, I would have run it. I've heard it's like a game changer.
I've heard
it's amazing to actually have it, even when it's like the weather at Jersey wasn't so bad. I've heard it's amazing. You just put it on for like 4 or 5 minutes, and it just cools you down.
Well, it's like an air conditioner on your body. It doesn't even. You would think it would be cold. It's not cold. But it's
prior to that, we would take gallon Ziploc bags full of ice and drop them down the front of our race suits.
I like plan A more than plan B.
So, and actually the very first Saturn, we actually tried something. It only worked marginally well. We made a cool seat.
Ooh.
Nice.
We took those crappy Kirky seats. Got one of our friends who knows how to weld aluminum, and we basically turned the back of the seat into a tank.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
And
That
basically
makes sense.
made it so it was cycling ice water through the back of the seat itself.
Oh, wow.
Limited water.
Limited success.
Limited success.
Kind of worked, but not very well. So we dispensed with that. And especially with the advent of better quality seats, those Kirkies, this was back when they really didn't care. And it was just this thin ass aluminum seat.
Yeah.
Right.
Though, that would have made one of the best in-car videos if you ever got into an accident and just seeing all that water just come rushing out.
Really?
That'd be fantastic.
That's true.
That would have been. So that's how we do it. It's that, and the 2 guys who do it tend to be they're much more heat tolerant than the rest of us.
Yeah.
That could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see it.
That sounds like work. We're going to pass. We're staying with our 2.5. That's good.
Yeah.
So, sir, until you change your driver cooling system to using milk and obviously have stolen our cookie because you want to dunk while you're in the middle of your 4-hour stint, is there a way?
Third car here to, do a milk theme?
Well, we can talk about that after. We've got a plan there. How would people follow along for this mayhem that you have involved over the years, and how would they keep up with the goings on of your teams?
Right now, it's not a whole lot. I gotta work on Manuel. He's not the technical savvy person. So I'm gonna try probably this off season to formalize a real team, a full team name, which incorporates all the cars. Then I'm going to start doing a bit more, social media, like getting up on Facebook and try to take more pictures. So right now it's with so many people, it's trying to get them to agree on anything is a bit tough. So right now, not a whole lot. I do frequent. So if you have questions, and I've offered this to any team who's in the area of me, if you have questions, if you need help, you're building a car and you have no idea if this thing's going to pass tech, just post up on the forums. So the official forums, I'm there all the time. I frequent, Citrus Racer Lounge and, the unofficial as well as the regular Lemons forum. So
sure. Yep, you're on there quite a lot, and we do thank you for occasionally giving a thumbs up to some of our stuff, even though it's written poorly and grammatically by an engineer. So
Hey,
we appreciate your pittance.
I have a bachelor's degree in engineering.
I have one too. Would you like it? You can have it. Very well. You can pick on yourself.
Awesome. So,
all right.
Yep. Hopefully in the future, I'll get our social media running up a bit more, so you can start following a bit of our zaniness.
Well, if we haven't had you on by then, when you come with the formal announcement, we can publicize it for you if you wish.
We could have a little live formal announcement.
That's right.
Elmo's Revenge / Oscar's Junk Heap / whatever is now.
Yes. Or you could just have the slashes and have the longest name in the history of the world, but
longer than the Gangruins National Championships.
I think if you put a slash between each of your cars, it would add up to be longer than that. Yes. So
it would.
Well, sir, we do appreciate you coming on. I think Vicki appreciated it the most, the theft of the cookie, but and she doesn't realize she's muted, but that's fine. But the stealing of the cookie was fantastic, and we really had, I think that was the highlight singularly of the weekend for us. So we do appreciate it, and thank you for stealing our cookie. I don't think I ever said that before, but okay.
He did it all for the cookie.
I did it all for the cookie. No, and again, thank you for having me. And I, as I said, truly appreciate the fact that you guys took that with the intent of the silliness that it was. And it was the highlight of our weekend as well. Just seeing that thing go round and round, seeing Vicki pass it as it's coming on the track the first time was like, oh my God, how we could not have planned that. Like, you'd think that we planned that between us. And it was all just this organic shenanigans, right? We didn't talk to you guys about doing this. You didn't talk to us. It was just kind of, hey, where'd our cookie go?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, somebody's running with the cookie. Yep. Where'd the cookie go? Oh, wait, there it is.
I'm sure it's a good plan. Whatever the plan was. And
whatever the plan was, it was amazing.
It was a great plan. And it was a better plan than we had even thought about. So that was fantastic. And, you're at a lemons race. What are you going to say? Hey, you took our aerodynamic aid, which decreases the performance of your vehicle. We want it back. No, it was fine. We're good.
It's fine. We're good.
It improves. I mean, it decreases your aerodynamic efficiency. It decreases your handling and probably slows down your top speed.
And reduces your gas mileage.
Exactly, for sure. 100%. Not a problem. You can have the cookie. Anyway, thank you again, Chris, for coming on. It was great.
I appreciate you guys having me. You guys have a good night.
You too, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.